All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I am now joined by old friend Carlos Medina. Carlos, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Very well, Chase. Thanks for having me. And as soon as I got your message about what you were looking to talk about, I just went, finally, I got a team. I talk about a team that's a lot of fun to watch.
They are a lot of fun to watch. But here's what's interesting with the Cowboys. And I remember us talking about this in the spring ahead of the draft. And one of the things, Dalton Miller of PFN, he is a big Cowboys guy too, and good film guy, and love having him on as well. But what we've talked about and like what it seemed like every Cowboys fan thought coming into this year, after last year, was like last year was the year. Like last year was a lot of eggs were in the basket of like, let's do something with this group. Amari Cooper's probably gone after this year, and we'll just see. A lot of guys got expensive, and the offensive line was going to be a bigger question mark going into next year. And you know, it hasn't really been the case. It looked like it might be the case to open up this year, that this was supposed to be kind of like a gap year for the Cowboys because they'll have a lot more money to spend going into next year, and that they were just going to be okay. Like, they were probably still going to be a playoff team because the NFC East was a rough division, but we might get 4 playoff teams out of the NFC East this year, and that's why you play the games, is you never know how these seasons are going to go. But for you as a Cowboys fan, is what you expected coming into this year? Like, did you see this kind of year coming?
I felt like it was a possibility, and here's the reason why. There was a lot of names. There weren't a lot of games that went away. Like losing La'el Collins, and the reason why they decided to not bring him back. Everyone's thinking, what's your right tackle? Well, Terrence Steele was a better player at right tackle last year, and La'el Collins was spending time, and he was got a 4-game suspension. He wasn't healthy, and so that went away. Randy Gregory was always kind of a time bomb. You didn't exactly know what was going to happen. So once he decided to take his money in Denver, they decided, all right, let's bring back Dorrance Armstrong, who's actually been a better football player than Randy Gregory. And so there were a lot of those names out there that you said, hey, this is oh my God, they're getting worse at the position. No, they got younger and cheaper. And it turns out they've been just as good as they were last year in terms of now that they've got Dak back and they're playing the offense the way they are, and their defense is better than last year.
Can they make Super Bowl in your estimation?
Right now, I believe so. I think it's them in Philadelphia. When you take a look at the NFC and who are the strongest teams.
Not the Niners.
No. I still think that you have an issue in terms of what are you exactly doing at quarterback there. If you're telling me that it's going to be Purdy for 7 or 8 weeks, good luck to you. Let's see what happens. But if you just want to talk about what's going on point and differential wise in the NFC, you do have the Niners that are a plus 92, and that's impressive. Philadelphia's a plus 112. That's impressive. The Cowboys are a plus 127. Okay, that's what they're doing. That is the best in the NFL. That's right there with the Bills at a plus 124. So they're just not really playing a lot of tight games. And again, now you get to play the Houston Texans. So hello 10-3. Let's see where they go from here.
Man, the Texans, really bad, just all across the board. Do they need OBJ? Does he do anything for them this year?
I am hesitant to get on board with it only because now that Michael Gallup has gotten healthy, came back, had the knee injury last year. Now we're starting to see the best of Michael Gallup, and it's pretty good. I think they have a certain offensive rhythm to what they're doing now. They're a 30-point per game scorer now that their offense is kind of humming. OBJ, if he is available and he's healthy, well, that's kind of a fun weapon to have if he's healthy. And I think that's the indication you keep getting out of Dallas, is that they are not 100% certain that he's fully ready to go this year. So that's the question mark.
It's interesting too. Tony Pollard obviously just making the Colts surrender Cobra on what was it? I guess Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football. They all blend
Sunday
together.
Night Football. Yeah,
Sunday Night Football. A few days back, and like I've never seen like our poor guy, Matt Ryan, where you're kneeling down 20 plus late in the game. You don't see that very often, where you're just like, let's just get out of here. This is just not fun anymore. Let's just go home. And Pollard has just become really a superstar this year. I mean, that's been what I think a lot of Cowboys fans have been waiting on for the last couple of years. And obviously you've paid Zeke, and it is what it is. You're nearing the end of that deal. Like when you look at Pollard and what he has been this year, this past week, like what's been different for you watching Pollard year in, year out this year as opposed to years prior?
It's more consistency. There are times in the past where he does give you the flash play. That's what he's been over the course of his career. When he showed up there was a question if he was going to play running back because he'd played some receiver over at Memphis. And so whether or not he was going to be in the backfield was kind of a question. It's now turned into he's a guy that you don't mind getting him 15 touches a game. Somehow, some way, you got to do it just because of that explosive play. When you're averaging 5.8 yards per carry, obviously that's cool. But he's consistently breaking 30, 40, 50-yard runs almost every game now. And so you just kind of, you hand him the ball and you wait, and you use Zeke as that slugging sledgehammer back who's still going to go get his 4 or 5 yards of carry when he's rolling, he's healthy. But now you got a home run hitter. And it feels a whole lot back in the day when they had like Felix Jones. They were using him in that way. He's an even better version of Felix Jones.
Is it sustainable?
I believe so, but again, running backs in the NFL, it's all about enjoy the moment. And sustainable means, can we do it for the whole season? And I think that's what it is. Because what happens, and it happens with every single one of these guys, they flash, you get them paid, and then you immediately say, well, I got to draft somebody else so I don't run them into the ground. And it doesn't matter where it is, it happens everywhere. Even the height of Adrian Peterson, they went, well, let's go use a second-round pick on a running back and make sure we don't run the tires off. Well, that's what happened. And you see it with whether it's been McCaffrey or anybody else out there, you always end up paying these guys, bringing in another back and saying, well, I'm not going to use him as much as I did in order for him to get that contract.
Would you rather have Fred Warner or Micah Parsons?
Micah Parsons right now.
Why?
It's so much versatility, and it's really what it comes down to. I love Fred Warner as a player. I think that there's a whole lot of stuff that he can do at the middle linebacker position. He takes over the middle of the field. Micah Parsons gives you it on third down where you have to find him and then figure out how to defend him in terms of the pass rush. And when you're talking about a guy who's winning as often as he is right now with his pass rush, where he's amongst the league leaders and he doesn't rush every single play, yet that's how good he is at it. I think that's that one added element where I've seen him cover slot receivers. I've seen him play as a traditional inside middle linebacker, and I've seen him play on the outside, and all three are really good. It's all cookies and cream to me. Okay, every part of it's been good.
Who outside of Parsons on the defense has popped this year for you?
Okay, so here's the fun part. Like I brought up, what's going on with Dorrance Armstrong. That's 8 sacks out of a guy they took in the 4th round out of Kansas, and they just kind of waited, and they kind of gave him spot duty, and now here he is, and here's what he's doing. I think seeing DeMarcus Lawrence kind of round back into form. He's got another 6 sacks, and he's been all over the place. And then there's players like Donovan Wilson, who they drafted, I believe it was 5th or 6th round out of Texas A&M. He's become like their enforcer, along with him and Jaron Kearse over at safety. That's not even counting Malik Hooker because they're playing 2 and 3 safeties on a regular basis. Those guys have been the ones where you just go every single week. They're doing something to affect a football game. And so it's a little bit of everything they've had. And again, most of it being homegrown or most of it being guys they brought in and said, we see a different role from you from what you've done in the NFL in the past, and it's been working for them.
So you really haven't missed Randy Gregory at all?
No, I mean, this is a team that's leading the league in sacks. What more do you need to do? It's been pretty good with what they've been able to accomplish. And again, Parsons gets all the attention because he's got 12 sacks and he's amongst the league leaders. But even Dante Fowler, remember Dante Fowler, they were trying to get the little bit out of him. Well, trying to get the little bit out of Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler in a limited role has 5 sacks. 5.
Yeah. The Falcons are over here. Can we just get one? Can we get one?
Yeah, can we just get him healthy? Would that be great?
What can the Eagles do to Dallas that Dallas can't stop? So when you think about that matchup, because you talked about they can, and the Eagles obviously being the just the team to beat in the NFC all year long. Like, what with that particular matchup are you just like, I don't know what Dallas does against Philly here?
Philadelphia did something really smart, and again, they had to play Dallas's backup quarterback, so they kind of got a little bit of a benefit in that first time around. But they made it a point to isolate Micah Parsons and put him in positions to where, oh, you want to rush? Well, we're going to play all of our RPO games off of you. Where are you going to play at? We're going to do everything off of you, and it really took him out of the game. I think that's going to be the next cat and mouse challenge. It's that when you play them again, as you get them in Arlington, how do you make that adjustment to where Micah Parsons is free, or you make an adjustment off of that? Because so much of what Philadelphia does, and it works, it's fun, but it's all really kind of a college RPO offense. And I think you've had similar to 2012. The league was slow to figure out what was going on in San Francisco and in Washington when RG3 was running all this stuff all over, and then you had Colin Kaepernick, not long after. Once the NFL makes the adjustment, great, it ain't going to work. But for the time being, no one's made that adjustment because of the talent they have all over the field.
So you are a little bit suspicious about whether or not this is sustainable for Jalen Hurts next year.
It's just a team that I've watched where week in, week out, I go, how are you playing the Colts down to a 1-point ball game in the fourth quarter, and why is it so much of a struggle? And the Colts have not been good this year. Yet it seems like Philadelphia finds themselves in those type of ball games. Washington, who basically just decided, we're not going to play this game with you. We're just going to be physical, and you got to deal with it. And they couldn't handle it. That's where I'm just kind of skeptical that whether or not somebody catches them playing that kind of style, that just basic football with them, and see if you can get them on that day.
Who do you not want in the first round? Like, who's the worst possible scenario for the Cowboys?
I do worry about having to play a Vikings team again, just because of what they did to them. When you beat somebody by 40 points, when you beat them on the road the way you did, you're not going to do that again. And so the Vikings are a good enough football team at home. Dallas, more than likely, unless you overtake Philadelphia, you're on the road to start with. You're going to get that, hey, here's your 3 road games. Good luck. Let's see where you start. And that's the one.
You might get the Bucs.
Nobody out. Yeah, nobody out west scares me. The Tampa Bay is so
maybe the Falcons. That'd be something. The Falcons hosted a playoff game against the Cowboys in round 1.
Possibility of finding that. No, it's Minnesota. That's the only one where I think it's really hard to do that to a team again.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what the Cowboys do, because I think a lot of people are wait and see. Like, I think a lot of people bought into the Cowboys last year, Los. I think that was it. Like, last year, people feel burned. They're like, we finally believed in the Cowboys and that y'all were legit and that everything was coming together. We thought you were going to lose Dan Quinn to a head coaching job somewhere else, and this was it. Like, you had everything clicking at the right time. Good offense, good defense, good special teams everywhere. And it's like, I think the NFC's open enough where it's like, unless you're a really firm believer in a rookie who's never been to the Super Bowl, no rookie quarterback's ever been to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, and Jimmy Garoppolo just comes back, and as someone who broke his left foot in a similar way to how Jimmy G did 2.5 months ago, I am a little suspicious that he's back and just rolling in 7 weeks. Like, there's just we'll see. I'm sure
listen, they heal differently than we do, but it ain't that different.
No, it's not that different. It's also the mental aspect, which I think people don't understand. It's like there's a mental game of like getting comfortable walking on like even when the bone is healed, to get your gait right, to walk right, and just trust your foot over and over again that it's not going to crack. Like, it's been a whole weird process for me. And look, many are saying that Jimmy Garoppolo and I are one and the same in a lot of different ways. But
it's always the talk.
Yeah, it's always the talk around town, both in Knoxville and East Tennessee, or in Atlanta. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. But I think they're right there. And I think if you're a Cowboys fan, this is just amazing. Like, this is, I think, because your expectations were low coming into this year, and low as in like you didn't think you were going to be awful, but you're like, it's a gap year. And you're like, we actually might win the NFC because the NFC is wide open. I think this is a great scenario.
I had the belief that they were going to be a playoff team, and it was just a matter of where it was going to be, whether or not they could get the division or not. Obviously, didn't expect the entire division to obviously be much improved. What I will say, the difference in last year, because I didn't buy into this team last year the way I did this year. And the reason why is that whenever they played anybody over 500, the only team they beat last year that had a pulse, it was a good football team, was New England in New England. And that was with a rookie quarterback and that game went right down to the wire. Anytime they played a good team, good quarterback, they lost last year. Now the schedule worked out for them, but when they played and they hosted San Francisco, I didn't believe they were going to beat that team. I was like, San Francisco's good. They're not going to beat them. This year, I don't care who it is. I don't care where it is. That's the way they're playing right now.
I like it. Last thing, Dak, he's back. Like, if you had to explain to people why they were able to run the gauntlet with Cooper Rush and keep the season alive once Dak went down, you plug in Cooper Rush, why were they able to just starve off just going off the tracks with Cooper, and what has been different about Dak since he's come back that has you excited?
There's a couple things. First off, we've seen scoring down all around the NFL, and everybody has a different opinion of it, whether it's finally us reaping the 2010 collective bargaining agreement where there's not that much work done in the offseason with offensive lines, the continuity of it, whatever's going on. It used to be you have to score 26 points to win a football game, 28 to be a playoff team. That's not the case this year. And so when you talk about Dallas being a top 5 team in terms of points allowed or total defense, it made it easier just to tell your backup quarterback, just get us to 17, get us to 20. And that's what they were able to do for 4 weeks, and that really helped. I think where you talk about what's different for Dak Prescott, a player that in the past has led the league in passing yards, he didn't have to do that this year. I can hand the ball off, I can let the defense work, you can take a 3 and out, and that hasn't always been the case before the last couple of years. And so that's why you're able to survive when you had to go to your backup, and that's why that I think Dak is thriving, because he's got a group where he can just say, hey, they're going to hold their own, they're going to keep us in the football game, let's just figure it out as we go.
Putting you on the spot here, Los. December 7th, 2022. How do you see this season ultimately ending for the Cowboys?
Super Bowl. No,
Okay.
I never. Okay, so let me just point this out in this way. The last time they were in an NFC Championship game, I had just started driving. Okay, that's how far back we have to go. So to me, I always joke around about it. It's always a ride. And several years ago in 2016, when they got off to the start that they did, and they were a 13-1 football team, and they were being led by a bunch of rookies, I'm like, this is crazy. You had Tony Romo go down, and your quarterback loses his opening start and then wins like 13 straight. It's like, this is insane. But it ended at the hands of Aaron Rodgers and that crazy pass play in Arlington, and that's how it ended. I just enjoy the ride these days. Because again, when I was a kid, I thought hand the ball off to Emmett 28 times and you win a championship. That's all you got to do. And it's been a long time since they've been this kind of football team. And if they can find themselves in a conference title game, again, I haven't seen that since 1996. So I'd love for it to go there, and whatever happens, happens.
I like it. Los, what can the good folks check out from you this week with the team over at 106.3 and 680 The Fan? You're all over the place.
Yeah, I've got the morning extra over on 106.3 FM. You can always download the app. That's our political talker that I'm doing 6 to 9 every single weekday morning. And then this week, sub it in with Matt Chernoff and Chuck Oliver a couple of days, including today. So anyone who wants to check out the Chuck and Chernoff show, your Wednesday and Thursday editions, I believe, I'll be part of those this week.
There you go. Who are you in for, Chuck or Chernoff?
Chuck is sick, and so I got the phone call. So got that a little bit later today. It's interrupting the workout and the nap, so got to work with it.
There you go. And you got to go work with Hoyt for a couple hours.
Whatever. Make it work.
There you go. Carlos, thank you as always for making the time, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. See you, Chase.